So this video is about vintage Peugeot vehicles, like for okay, let me just stick to the one I know very well, 504 and 504, 505, 605. I think so as well, because I used a 605 before that had a cable. Um, yeah, but let's just focus on this one. So 504 and 505 speedometers. So the unfortunately in Nigeria, I would say more than 90% of 504 and 504 and 505 users in Nigeria don't have their speedometer working. Even those I used in the past. I mean, I could remember when I started driving as early as late 90s. No, I started driving before that, sef. But my point is, when I became very active on the road was in the late 90s. So at that time, almost every 504 and 505 I have ever sat in, I'm not saying driven, ever sat inside the vehicle, whether as a passenger or whatever, their speedometer were not working. So what I observed since then, for the very few, for example, mine, which was a GL, even when, when I took over the car from my father, the speedometer too was not working. So I think what will happen once the cable breaks, because these cars we are using cable. The cable controls the speedometer from the gearbox to the instrument panel. So once it breaks, they don't bother about it. In fact, it even appears that probably sometimes when they are doing any work and maybe they needed to remove the cable, they don't even bother to put it back. And the owners also don't bother about it. I think so. I don't know for sure. But um, from my experience, I think that's because even when I took over the GL, I went and bought the cable. I remember I bought it at Ogui New Layout. Just one store. Bought it how much then? 400 naira. Or was it 400? I'm trying to remember. It was 400 naira then. I mean, I gave it to a mechanic then. This thing, I'm talking about 1998, if I'm not mistaken. Should be 1998. So gave it a mechanic to man for me. The mechanic was like, okay, either 1998 or 1999, something like that. Okay, let's just leave it at 1999. Give it to him. He was like, what do you mean speedometer cable? I throw this thing away. Who cares about it? I had to now figure out how to do it myself. Trust me. I mounted it. So mine was even at that point, you notice it will be bouncing a little. The needle, that needle in the middle of the speedometer itself, that needle that indicates the speed you are doing or the vehicle speed. Especially from the lower speed, you see it will bounce a little or be shaking a little. Though as the speed is increasing, the bounce stops or reduces. So yeah, I'm not saying all, but I could say mine and very few that their own speedometer were working at that time. To be honest, I could say from that 1999, 1999 till you could say maybe 2007 or 2006. I'm not sure I've ever sat um I don't think they're up to 10, 504 and 505 that have certain that their speedometer were working. I can tell you, remember that I not only work on my own car, I also work on other people's cars and the rest. I go to workshop and drive other people 504, 505. It's only 404 that I honestly can't tell you. I think probably, I think maybe, have I driven one? Maybe once, but not. I'm not too familiar with 404. So that why I don't usually talk about it. So, but 5/5 I know I'm doing quite a lot. Work on quite a lot at that time. They are not mine. I wasn't doing it to make money. I was just, something I have interest and passion in. So people, friends, they bring their parents home or something. So I'll be like, hey, figure, I was enjoying doing the repairs on those cars. So I can say they were not up to 10. I'm not even sure they were up to 5. So almost every one of them will be doing that, or maybe only one was not bouncing. So even as when I got my 505 as well, my 505 V6, same issue. Um, but this is what thing I now realize. What usually cause this bounce, um, I will tell you, is the cable. That speedometer cable that connects the gearbox to the speedometer. That's usually the cause. It took me a while to figure that out. But when I was using my GL, I didn't know. In fact, my GLO wasn't that bad compared to my 505 own. It wasn't that bad. It was just when you, in fact, let's just say from 0 to 20 kilometers per hour. That's when you to do that bouncing. But once you exceed maybe like 40 kilometers per hour, then it stays steady. So that was my GL. But my 505, wow. It took a while because at a point it will start doing that. I had to even go. There was a time I went and bought another cable. There was nothing wrong with the speedometer cable, but I was like, maybe the cable was bad. I bought another cable, put it. I don't even know whether it remained. I didn't notice any difference, so I just kept the old cable because I was like, okay, maybe this is not the cable actually. You know. Sometimes it will clear. Maybe you do some work on the cable. I think maybe when I changed the cable, it stopped. If I could remember, I'm talking about 2011. I think it was like 2011. So it will stop, but after a while, sometimes it will start doing that again. So why now? Like I said, it took me a while to figure that out. It was much later than I realized that when it will stop doing that, I was like, anytime I'm doing work that I need to move the cable or touch the speedometer cable, even without removing it, or maybe I need to remove the instrument panel and then I put it back. I mount it back, reconnect the cable, everything. That's when this issue usually come up. So I was like, okay, it's not necessary that the cable is bad, but most likely the position of the cable. That because in fact, I think the first cable that came with the car uh, was shorter. I'm talking about the 505 now. Was shorter than every other cable I've ever purchased since then. To be honest, I purchased about 3 or 4 speedometer cable for my 505 V6. None of them has failed, none of them has broken. But like I said, I kept wondering, okay, I'll put it, it will stay steady. Then after a while, maybe weeks, months or less, it start doing the same thing. So I was like, maybe this cable, they don't last, even though they've not broken. So I kept changing cable. But I realized that every other one I've been buying, usually much longer. So I will end up always not necessarily twisting the cable, but I had to now change the position so that the cable doesn't touch the ground. Because remember, when it's too long, it means it can't be on a straight line. It's supposed to be a straight line. So I have to now try looking for how do I mount it? Do I move it to, keep changing the position so that it will be able to stay up without dropping down. So I wish, and funny enough, that the first cable that came with the car, which was probably the one that the car was produced with, I think I took it home. I'm talking about, it's no longer in Abuja with me, but I think I located it, I kept it in my hometown. Can't remember exactly. So that's the one I ought not to have replaced. So every other one, so what now happened is once it will get to a point, it became very noisy. In fact, it will just be shaking or bouncing. It will even be making noise. It will be a pack, 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 pack. If you're observant in some of my videos in my 505 V6 while I'm driving, you could actually hear the noise. For example, if I reduce speed and the video is on and the camera is inside the car, you can hear the speedometer needle flapping, pop, 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 pop. You can hear that noise. Now, it's actually cable that is making that noise, but you could also hear as the noise is coming up. You see the needle bouncing, rhyming with the noise, with that sound, that ta 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 ta. So, like I say, anytime I have anything to do and then touch the cable, wow, issue will come up. Even maybe I go under the car to do something and I need to once, or even when unintentionally, once that cable shift from one position to another or something, the noise will start. So what usually happen in my case is it will, once that happen, it will go and shift the cable, where it goes onto the instrument panel or onto the speedometer head behind the instrument panel. It will shift it from there, so it will start making noise. So not necessarily maybe it's because it has shifted position under the car. That's where what is causing the maybe not, but I know whenever I remove the instrument panel, how I usually fix that or stop that noise or the shaking is I'll remove the instrument panel, try to move the cable from that end, shift it, put it back, push back, slot the cable back on the instrument, on the speedometer head, put back the instrument panel back on that normal position. No side, the noise will go away. Or sometimes the noise, if the noise, that the shaking and the noise will go away. Sometimes when it comes back as I'm driving, once I press the instrument panel, once I press it, like push it a little bit in or try to push it out, it goes away. The shaking, the bouncing, everything will stop. So that's why I believe it's like most likely is for me, my own is always from there that I fixes it. So but the thing is, it's possible because the cable that I've been using are too long, so it will not make the cable to twist or bend inside, because it can't stay on a straight line, otherwise it will just be on the ground. So the reason why I'm doing this video is for people to know, if you have a 504 and 505 and they are having this noise, at least this issue, your speedometer needle is bouncing or is making noise, or both bouncing and noisy, then at least you know where the problem is. Don't go and change your instrument panel. I remember, say funny thing, I even remember, because of this thing, I changed instrument panel. Because of this, I thought, maybe in fact, it has damaged the instrument panel. That's why it's making noise. That what I mean is it has damaged the speedometer inside the instrument panel. I'll go and buy another one. See, like I said, it took me a while to figure out that it has nothing to do with the instrument panel, the speedometer. It's just that the cable doesn't align well or whatever. So don't waste your money changing, even touching your gearbox. It could be it's possible, maybe, but I'm just saying from my experience, don't bother with these other things. It's most times the cable. Not, you don't need to change your cable. I'm just telling you, okay, how I usually fix mine until I go and tamper it again, then it stops, or I give it a mechanic to work on. And there are times that you just have to move the cable unintentionally. When you are doing something and something, you need to put your hand and it will touch the cable. Only for you, sometimes you now enter, you start doing that. But in my case, I believe probably because the cable is too long. Had it been is the normal size, I've tried all the size they have in the market are too long. So I just had to live with that. So maybe whenever I travel back to my hometown, I'll see if I can get that original one the car came with, which is much shorter, so that I won't be having that problem anymore. Someone was saying the other time too, in his own case, Because I shared this information recently on a group, vintage car group, but not America anyway, group. So the person said in his own case, what tends to fix his own. Once that shaking or bouncing or noise comes up, he will pour oil that is very thick, maybe like 20W50 oil. It will, find a way to inject it into that cable, so that it will, maybe you remove the instrument panel, you get a syringe, draw the oil from a container, now push it into the cable. Of course, eventually it will go down, drain down, and passes and get close to the gearbox. So it will lubricate the cable inside that coat. So it helps, according to him, it helps to stop that noise. So in that case, yeah, that could also help. In my case, it might not really help, even it will help, because remember, it's not straight, it's too long. So no matter what I do, the cable will always be touching. It's supposed to be a little bit free, sort of, but it has to kind of squeeze itself, because I had to turn, push it this side, push it this side. Just keep pushing it to different positions, so that eventually it will be able to stay up without touching down, or lying on the ground. So you could try it in your own case. Maybe inject the oil. I think you said 10W, either 10 weight oil or 20 weight oil, something like that. It doesn't necessarily be 10W50 or 10W or 20W50, but it has to be 20 oil weight or 10W oil weight. You will be getting for a while. So maybe that could help. Maybe in my case, maybe one day, maybe if it starts again, I'll do that, see whether. But the thing is, to do that, I have to remove the instrument panel. So once I remove the instrument panel, put it back. Most I solve the problem. So, but I'll just put the oil just for the sake of my, fulfilling all righteousness. So at least we get the cable inside. Whatever that will contribute to help to stop the shaking, because it can be very annoying. In fact, the annoying one is most times the noise, not even the shaking or the bouncing of the needle. That noise can be annoying. And if you just shaking too much, you can't be able to tell what speed you are doing, because the bounce it can bounce off like 20 kilometers per hour. That if you are doing like 100, it can be bouncing to 120, even though you are actually doing 100. So it can be that frustrating, or even more than 20. So that's why you can keep it as stable as possible if you can. My 605 V6 wasn't doing that until when the cable failed, broke. I was traveling actually. Then all of a sudden, the needle, speedometer needle has always been stable. I knew mine was cable. The phase 2 605 uses a sensor, but mine uses a cable. So I think there's a sensor on the cable, on the gearbox. Then the cable is now attached to the sensor, if I'm not mistaken. Then if the cable now goes to the instrument panel. So what happened in my case was I was traveling, and what really happened? I think the engine jerked. Then it was jerking. I can't remember. So all of a sudden I saw the speedometer. I started bouncing for the very first time after I've used the car for months. It started bouncing. I was in a journey. It was just bouncing like the 505 was doing. Remember, I also have a 505 at that time. So it was just doing that bouncing. All of a sudden, it went up very high, jumped up, bam, down, jumped down again, and that was the end. So in my 605 case, it broke on that sensor on the gearbox, the transducer. That was where it broke. It didn't break on the speedometer end or in the middle. It broke that. So I don't know. Eventually, I didn't change it. I don't know whether I made attempt to see if I can get another cable. or fix that, see if I can be able to fix it and put it back, because it's possible that some people can be able to repair the broken speedometer cable. So I don't know, I couldn't fix it. I just used the car like that until I sold it without speedometer working. So at least now what could be the cause I had to solve it. So 404 users probably their own. I don't know much about 404, but it could be same case in yours. All right.